Turkey calls the U.S.A. envoy home. The moves come after panel approves Armenia genocide resolution. Washington. Turkey has asked its ambassador in Washington to return to Turkey for consultations over a House panel's approval of a bill describing the World War I era mass killings of Armenians as genocide. A Turkish Foreign Ministry spokesman has said the ambassador would stay in Turkey for about a week or 10 days. We are not withdrawing our ambassador. We have asked him to come to Turkey for some consultations. The House Foreign Affairs Committee defied warnings by President U.S.A. with 27 to 21 approval Wednesday to send the measure to the full House for a vote. The administration will now try to pressure Democratic leaders not to schedule a vote, though it is expected to pass. Turkey criticizes House action. Unfortunately, some politicians in the United States have once again sacrificed important matters to domestic politics despite all calls to common sense. Turkey's president said this unacceptable decision by the committee, like its predecessors, has no validity or respectability for the Turkish nation. State Department spokesman Sean McCormick said passage of the resolution by the House would gravely harm U.S.-Turkish relations and U.S. interests in Europe and the Middle East. The United States recognizes the immense suffering of the Armenian people due to mass killings and forced deportations at the end of the Ottoman Empire. McCormick said in a statement, "We support a full and fair accounting of the atrocities that befell as many as 1.5 million Armenians during World War I, which he said the measure doesn't do." Following Wednesday's vote, Undersecretary of State Nicholas Burns said he would call the Turkish ambassador to Washington, and that Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice would talk to Turkish leaders on Thursday. U.S. diplomats have been quietly preparing Turkish officials for weeks for the likelihood that the resolution would pass, and asking for a muted response. Burns said the Turks have not been threatening anything specific in response to the vote, that he hopes the disappointment can be limited to statements. The Turkish government leaders know that there is a separation of powers in the United States, and that today's action was taken by the House Foreign Affairs Committee. There is concern that the vote could lead to Turkey cutting off crucial supply lines to Iraq. Defense Secretary Robert Gates said ahead of the vote that 70% of U.S. air cargo headed for Iraq goes through Turkey, as does about 1/3 of the fuel used by the U.S. military in Iraq. Access to airfields and to the roads and so on in Turkey would very much be put at risk if this resolution passes, and Turkey reacts as strongly as we believe they will, Gates said. The vote also came as Turkish warplanes and helicopter gunships attacked suspected positions of Kurdish rebels near Iraq on Wednesday, a possible prelude to a cross-border operation that the U.S.A. administration has opposed. The United States, already preoccupied with efforts to stabilize other areas of Iraq, believes that Turkish intervention in the relatively peaceful north could further destabilize the country. The committee's vote was a triumph for well-organized Armenian American interest groups who have lobbied Congress for decades to pass a resolution. It is long past time for the U.S. government to acknowledge and affirm this horrible chapter of history, the first genocide of the 20th century, and a part of history that we must never forget, said the executive director of the Armenian Assembly of America. This is how it all unfolds.